What if the king steps down, but still rules the kingdom? The modern Taishang Huang regime in Cambodia, when power never truly fades. Unlike many politicians who retire and fade quietly into the background, former Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen, upon stepping down from power, swiftly assumed the role of President of the Senate, a position seemingly ceremonial, yet one that wields substantial influence within the political system. Though no longer the official head of government, Hun Sen continues to exert control over the Cambodian People's Party, CPP, makes decisions on personnel appointments, influences key policies, and most crucially, remains the undisputed center of loyalty among Cambodia's political elite. Meanwhile, his son, Hun Sen, though formally installed as Prime Minister, remains deeply under the shadow and influence of his powerful father. This dynamic lies at the heart of Cambodia's modern Taishang Huang model, where a leader abdicates in name, yet retains real power from behind the scenes. Taishang Huang, an unofficial yet tangible model. In East Asian political history, the term Taishang Huang, retired emperor, refers to a former monarch who steps down but continues to control the throne through his successor, usually his son. Though no longer the titular head of state, the retired emperor remains the ultimate decision-maker, from appointing officials and issuing policies to directing the military and managing the court. The new ruler, in most cases, becomes more of a figurehead, executing the will of his predecessor. Likewise, Cambodia, a country nominally governed under a multi-party democratic system, is witnessing a clear manifestation of a modern-day Taishang Huang model. This model is not publicly proclaimed nor codified in any constitutional clause, yet it operates with precision and deep entrenchment, with none other than Hun Sen as its embodiment. In August 2023, Hun Sen announced his resignation after nearly 4 decades in power, formally transferring the position of Prime Minister to his son, Hun Sen. In theory, this marked a significant political milestone, symbolizing a generational shift and the dawn of a modernized leadership. However, the reality quickly revealed otherwise. This was not a retreat from power, but a reshuffling within the same power architecture. Shortly after stepping down, Hun Sen was appointed President of the Senate by Cambodia's National Assembly, which remains firmly under CPP's control. Although perceived as symbolic, this position carries considerable constitutional authority. According to Cambodia's constitution, the President of the Senate is designated to act as head of state temporarily if the king is unable to perform his duties or passes away before naming a successor. This means that in moments of national crisis or leadership vacuum, Hun Sen could legally ascend as acting head of state. But his power extends far beyond the constitution. In practice, Hun Sen maintains far-reaching influence across all levels of governance, from the central government to provincial administrations, from the military to the police, from parliament to the Council of Ministers. Key positions within the political system remain occupied by his loyalists, personally selected or approved by him and his inner circle. As such, every major policy or decision must pass through his silent consensus, even though he no longer holds the title of Prime Minister. At its core, Cambodia's modern Taishang Huang model is a dual-layered power structure. One person holds the title, another holds the real authority. The successor, in this case Hun Sen, can only operate within the boundaries defined by his predecessor. This carefully choreographed transition was designed to create the illusion of reform, while preserving a vertical inheritance of power, not a genuine political transformation. Hun Sen's continued presence as president of the Senate serves not only as a symbol of unbroken authority, but also as a veiled message to any would-be challengers. He is still here, watching, commanding, and ready to intervene if necessary. The Power Triangle, Cambodia's dominant political dynasties. For more than 3 decades, Cambodia's political system has not merely been governed by institutions or parties. It has been shaped and controlled by a dynastic structure in which 3 powerful families act as the immovable pillars of state power: the Hun Sen family, the Banh family, and the Sar Kheng family. These dynasties do not simply hold high-ranking government positions. They collectively oversee the 3 most critical levers of power: governance, military, and law enforcement. Together, they form a power triangle, where each family manages a strategic domain while supporting and reinforcing the dominance of the Cambodian People's Party, CPP. The Hun Sen family, the political core and symbol of supreme power. Hun Sen is the central figure of modern Cambodian politics. He began his tenure as Prime Minister in 1985 and held the position for an unprecedented 38 consecutive years, a record rarely seen in contemporary global leadership. During this period, he not only dominated the executive branch, but also shaped the nation's political ideology, designed its long-term strategic direction, and built a vast network of loyalty that permeated every corner of the state apparatus. The Hun Sen family's influence extends far beyond politics. They have deeply penetrated Cambodia's economy, real estate, natural resources, and media sectors. His decision to pass power to his son, Hun Sen, was not simply an act of succession, but a calculated move to ensure the continuity of dynastic power within the family. The Banh family, military shield, and armed support. General Banh of Thai descent served as Minister of National Defense from 1987 to 2023, commanding Cambodia's armed forces for a remarkable 36 consecutive years. Within the triadic structure of power, he acted as the military shield of the Sepoy regime, ensuring stability, order, and suppressing any potential coup or military dissent. Under his leadership, the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces functioned not only as a defense institution, but also as a political instrument to safeguard elite power, especially that of the Hun Sen family. Upon his retirement, his son Taishang succeeded him as Minister of Defense, thereby ensuring the continuation of the family's influence in military affairs. The Sar Kheng family, machinery of social and administrative control. With 31 years as Minister of Interior, Sar Kheng oversaw the nation's police, civil security, local administration, and population management systems. His family holds the keys to social control, from maintaining public order and overseeing elections to managing household registrations and everyday administrative procedures. The Ministry of Interior is also the central hub for demographic data, directly affecting the daily lives of citizens through documentation, surveillance, and law enforcement. Upon Sar Kheng's exit, his son, Sar Sokha, inherited the position of Minister of Interior, guaranteeing the preservation of the family's role in governance and the protection of their entrenched interests. The Power Triangle, a unified mechanism of rule. This three-pillar power structure is not merely a division of responsibility. It functions as a mutual system of control and protection. Each family governs one critical area. The Hun Sen family controls the central government and national political direction. The Banh family controls the military and armed forces. The Sar Kheng family controls law enforcement and administrative governance. Thanks to this distribution, the CPP operates like a well-oiled machine, maintaining absolute internal stability and eliminating potential threats from within. Any individual attempting to challenge the system faces three nearly impenetrable barriers: politics, military, and bureaucracy, all safeguarded by long-standing dynastic influence and a deeply loyal network of tens of thousands of officials. This is not merely a political system, it is a hereditary power structure, where sons inherit their fathers' roles and entire clans take over state authority as a matter of lineage, not electoral merit or democratic representation. Dynastic power, a transfer without letting go. Hun Sen's resignation and the handover of the prime minister position to his son, Hun Sen, was not an isolated political event in Cambodia. In reality, it was part of a coordinated generational transition, carefully designed and systematically executed among the three dominant political families. The two other pillars of Cambodia's power triangle, Minister of Defense Banh and Minister of Interior Sar Kheng, also stepped down from their executive posts. However, they did not withdraw from politics. Instead, both assumed strategically influential roles. Banh became vice president of the CPP and a member of parliament representing Preah Sihanouk province, a politically and economically strategic region. Sar Kheng retained his post as vice president of the CPP and became a member of parliament for Banh, one of Cambodia's most populous and administratively significant provinces. Meanwhile, their sons succeeded them in office. Taishang became Minister of Defense, and Sar Kheng took over the Ministry of Interior. On paper, this appears to be a youthful revitalization of the ruling apparatus, a sign of progress and generational change. But a closer look reveals that real power has not left the hands of the older generation. Key political decisions, especially those involving appointments, security, defense, or foreign affairs, still require implicit approval from the patriarchs, the so-called Taishang Huangs. This model not only preserves dynastic continuity, but functions as a supervisory layer over the younger leaders. If the successors falter, their predecessors are fully capable of resuming control without any legal or political resistance, because they never truly left the structure of power. This is not a withdrawal, it is a restructuring strategy to maintain long-term dominance within the ruling families. Power and wealth, a dual bond. The three families, Hun Sen, Banh, and Sar Kheng, do not only dominate Cambodia's political framework, they also command vast economic interests, creating an inseparable bond between power and wealth. They do not merely govern, they control the nation's critical resources, from land and minerals to infrastructure and logistics, an impenetrable network of power. The fusion of political and economic power among Cambodia's three ruling families has created a dual authority model, one where the state is not only governed in terms of executive and legislative control, but also in terms of financial flows, natural resources, and strategic investments. Any effort to challenge the system whether from opposition parties, independent businesses, or international organizations, runs up against a fortress-like power structure. These families do not simply control the political framework, they shape the entire national economic architecture, from land and infrastructure to resource extraction and labor markets. In a country where the majority of citizens still depend on agriculture or government employment, the grip of these dynasties over national life is virtually absolute. Internal tensions, when power cannot be equally shared. On the surface, the relationship between the Hun Sen, Banh, and Sar Kheng families may appear to be a solid alliance forged through decades of political collaboration. However, within this seemingly unified power structure, cracks have begun to show, especially following the controversial appointment of Hun Sen's son, as Prime Minister. For over 30 years, the three families operated a nearly flawless power triangle, with each maintaining control over one core pillar and avoiding encroachment on each other's domains. But Hun Sen's decision to appoint his son as Prime Minister, a position that carries both symbolic and practical supremacy, shattered that equilibrium. Unlike ministerial or party vice chair roles, the Prime Minister of Cambodia is the central figure in policy execution and national planning, with authority over budget distribution, investment direction, personnel appointments, and influence across provinces. Hun Sen's succession is not merely personal inheritance. It is a consolidation of the Hun Sen family's full spectrum of power. No alliance is eternal, no power is absolute. The